My brain is open. That was the standard greeting of a man who would show up on a colleague's doorstep with nothing but a half-empty suitcase. Welcome to PeoplePod. He didn't own a house or a car or even hold a permanent job. He expected his host to feed him, wash his clothes, and eventually put him on a train to his next destination. This was Paul Erdős. Over an 83-year lifespan, he authored more than 1,500 mathematical papers, making him the most prolific mathematician of the 20th century. While popular culture pictures mathematicians as solitary figures hunched over chalkboards, Erdos turned the entire globe into his office, making mathematics a deeply social pursuit. His path to this nomadic life began in Budapest in 1913. Days before he was born, his two older sisters died of scarlet fever. Terrified of losing her only remaining child, his mother kept him heavily isolated at home. This chart shows exactly how his isolated, prodigy mind operated by age 5. If you gave him your age in years, he could calculate in his head exactly how many seconds you had been alive. As a young Jewish man coming of age in the 1930s, his homeland became increasingly dangerous. Escaping the severe anti-Semitism and the rise of fascism in Europe, he emigrated to the United States in 1938. Leaving Hungary severed his only physical anchor to a normal, settled life. From that point forward, he would never truly unpack. His first stop in America was a fellowship at Princeton's Institute for Advanced Study, but it didn't last. The administration found him uncouth and unconventional, refusing to extend his contract and forcing him off the traditional academic track. This map tracks his erratic route across the United States. You can see how he adapted, bouncing constantly from Purdue to Notre Dame to Stanford, collaborating with whoever had a spare couch and an interesting math problem. As he traveled, he developed his own distinct dialect. Children were epsilons, a calculus term for an arbitrarily small quantity, and a beautiful mathematical proof. That was a page straight out of the book. Though an agnostic, Erdos envisioned the book as a literal text where God, whom he playfully nicknamed the supreme fascist, kept the most elegant solutions to the universe's mathematical puzzles hidden away. He had no wife or children, but by constantly moving and surrounding himself with colleagues, he built a surrogate family bound entirely by numbers. This hyper-focused lifestyle occasionally caused trouble. In 1941, while distracted by a theorem, he absent-mindedly wandered near a secret radio tower, earning an arrest and a permanent FBI file. By 1954, that FBI file, combined with the paranoia of the McCarthy era and his habit of writing letters to a mathematical colleague in China, caused the U.S. government to revoke his re-entry visa. Locked out of America, he simply took his suitcase elsewhere, taking up visiting professorships in the UK and teaching at institutions like the Technion in Haifa. Political borders meant nothing to his work. Government persecution didn't stop his collaboration. It forced his network to expand across continents. But this relentless pace carried a heavy physical and emotional toll. When his mother passed away in 1971, he fell into a deep depression, eventually relying on daily doses of amphetamines and antidepressants to maintain his working hours. Worried about his health, a friend bet him $500 that he couldn't stay off the stimulants for a month. Erdos won the bet, but immediately resumed taking the pills, complaining that a month of sobriety had resulted in 0 mathematical ideas. His approach to mathematics also had professional costs. Because he preferred cracking highly specific, isolated puzzles rather than developing broad, sweeping theories, he never won the Fields Medal, the highest honor in his discipline. The constant travel, the daily stimulants, the lack of mainstream academic awards, this was the tax he willingly paid to keep his mind locked onto the problems he loved. As he aged into his 70s and 80s, he maintained his frantic travel schedule, jokingly appending titles to his name. At 65, he called himself a living dead. At 75, an archaeological discovery. In 1996, at the age of 83, his heart finally gave out while attending a conference in Warsaw, passing away exactly as he had always wanted, right in the middle of a mathematics meeting. This network graph visualizes his true legacy, the Erdos number. Created as a tribute by his peers, it measures a researcher's collaborative distance from him. Erdos sits in the center at 0, his co-authors at 1, and their co-authors at 2. Zooming out on this exact same graph, you see a network encompassing hundreds of thousands of active scientists. It shows that modern research operates as a massive, tightly bound web. A man who never owned a house ended up building a permanent intellectual home for thousands of people, finding the scientific community together through the sheer act of collaboration. He spent his entire life searching for those perfect, elegant solutions. Hopefully, he finally got a look at the book. Thanks for listening to PeoplePod. See you next time.